What are you going to do with that?
What's going on, everyone? It's Sam. Welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you're all doing great. In this video, I wanted to talk about the actual science behind Kingpin's strength in the comics and in the MCU. I know there's been a lot of speculation if he's received a power boost since the Daredevil show. So let's discuss that and talk about how he survived the multiple hits that he took in the Hawkeye finale. So if you like Marvel, the MCU, comics, and everything in between, subscribe to the channel. Other than that, let's get into the video. Let's go. Let's start it off with this. This is a fictional universe, so even though some things are grounded in reality, other things aren't as they seem. However, one thing that is certain, Kingpin is a big dude. As a young kid, he joined the mob and, in quotes, worked out religiously to carefully craft his physique. And soon realizing that he was very good at being successful in the criminal underworld, he took it to the next level and eventually became the character that we all know today. In the comics, Wilson Fisk is 6 foot 7 inches tall and weighs in at about 450 pounds or 205 kilograms. Obviously, with that size, there's a natural strength that one possesses, but the real reason he's actually so strong is because his body fat is only at 2%, which of course makes the rest of him 98% muscle, and for a guy of his stature, that is one strong and this actually puts him in the category of peak human strength. To put it into perspective, it can vary, but according to the American Council of Exercise, the average young man has about 12 to 15% body fat, and for a middle-aged man, it's about 18 to 24% body fat. So what is he able to do with this? Over the years in the comics, Kingpin has defeated Daredevil multiple times. He went toe-to-toe with Steve Rogers in Captain America issue number 47. He actually almost broke his spine until Falcon had to save him. And of course, he has had multiple encounters with Spider-Man and a whole load of other people. So he should be able to take a punch and of course knock down little Kate Bishop, right? You are correct, and that is shown on display in the Hawkeye finale, but Wilson Fisk wasn't just taking punches. The first display of strength or defense comes from when Kate first confronts him and fires an arrow directly into his torso, until he breaks it in half unfazed and throws it aside. So does the science back this up? Well, Kingpin is known for wearing Kevlar under his suits. We have seen Kevlar many times in the MCU, most recently when Monica Rambeau discusses it in WandaVision, and I assume he was wearing it in this Hawkeye finale. Kevlar is a heat-resistant and strong synthetic fiber that is used all the time in bulletproof vests because of its impact resistance, strength, and low weight. When it's engaged, it even tightens, so it's great at stopping sharp objects and slashes. The average piece of Kevlar can actually withstand anything launched at it up to 2,000 feet per second. So let's use this example for Kate, assuming her bow is nearly the same as Clint's, and of course assuming that they were using the same arrows since they made them together. We also need to make some assumptions about the weight of the arrows and the construction of his bow, but roughly speaking, for each pound of draw weight you get 1.67 feet per second of additional acceleration, and Clint's bow already has 250 pounds of draw weight. So 250 pounds of draw weight plus 417.5 pounds of additional acceleration gives us an estimated speed of about 650 feet per second or almost 450 miles per hour. Give or take, some of these numbers are rounded at an estimate, but you'll see why the exact precision doesn't even matter. For context, the average bow used for hunting typically has an average draw weight of 60 to 70 pounds. Clint's bow has about 4 more times the force of that, and using the average 350 grain arrow recommended to use with bows this powerful, moving at that speed would carry 317 foot-pounds of energy compared to the 89 foot-pounds of a typical hunting bow. Essentially, Clint and Kate are shooting bullets at people in the form of an arrow. In comparison, the average handgun bullet, depending on weight and size of course, but they do carry about 320 foot-pounds of force. So these arrows are almost identical to the force of an average bullet. But being that Kevlar can withstand 2,000 feet per second, and these arrows at most only reach about 700 feet per second, and maybe a little more depending on the material of the arrow, it stands no chance penetrating Kevlar. That's why Kevlar is used in so many bulletproof vests, because it can withstand so much. And now you may be asking why he uses arrows over bullets after hearing this, and the answer is simple. It looks cool. But moving on, you can argue also that being absolutely decked by a car or blown up by 3 to 4 arrowheads should also result in some brutal damages, right? Well, honestly, the car delivers less force than the arrow. Sure, it's bigger, made of different material and other factors, but that car was not going that fast. Kate's mom at most backed up and floored it for about maybe 3 to 5 seconds, probably less. And for the average car going 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, it has an accelerated force of 29.4 feet per second, which is nowhere close to how fast the arrows were moving. Obviously, like I said, being hit by a car and an arrow are completely different, but I doubt Kate's mom was even going 60 miles per hour on that small street. And how many movies and TV shows have you seen where someone gets hit by a car and is okay? So let's not overthink this one, it is a movie after all. Well, show. Where it gets interesting though is when Kate activates the explosive arrowhead that blows up directly underneath him and into his torso. The average grenade when it blows burns at about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit or about 2,200 to 2,750 degrees Celsius. Kevlar has a melting point of at most currently around 800 degrees Fahrenheit or 420 degrees Celsius, so yeah, I don't know about that one. Even sparklers or mini fireworks burn at 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. So it seems like the science is telling us that he would basically be fried like a fish stick here. I mean, absolutely burnt to a crisp. She even labeled the arrow extremely dangerous. Admittedly though, through research and other methods, I had the least amount of info about this one. And obviously the arrows weren't grenade caliber, so let's just say it was a smaller one that burned at a lower temperature where he could survive. But seriously Marvel, if you want to discuss this one, I would be interested in entertaining that. Of course, one of the most impactful scenes of the episode though was when Maya shoots Kingpin in the alleyway, off camera. Which confirms that he is 100% alive because you gotta know the trick by now, off-camera deaths are not deaths. And just like how we saw in the finale, in the comics Maya shoots Kingpin in the same exact scenario and he lives. Now it does leave him temporarily blinded, hence the Easter egg line Wilson says in Hawkeye about family not seeing eye to eye. So Fisk is coming back, they wouldn't revive parts of the Daredevil show, bring Cox and Vincent back, and be developing an Echo show just to kill him off that easily. One last thing I want to add is about one of the biggest mysteries still of Phase 4, which is who was Sharon Carter talking to in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier post-credits scene. And if it was Wilson Fisk, it could give us a huge indicator that maybe he did take a super soldier serum. Now when Sharon is on the phone, she does mention that there's no more serum, but they have access to government intel, research, and more. Now I'm not sure if Fisk would essentially want this information or access, but he could sell it off to people, which is what I think she was mentioning. I also don't believe we are going to see Oscorp in the MCU, or at least just yet. Now I could be wrong, but like Norman said in No Way Home, it doesn't even exist yet, which means that they couldn't have bought the tower because it has already been bought before the events of No Way Home. And there was actually a scrap post-credits scene in No Way Home with Peter looking up the MCU's version of Osborn, and he was actually a good guy at the moment who backed the idea of the Avengers. So he could have bought the tower, but I think it's a small chance, and realistically the only other options after that would be Fisk or Baxter. You could argue it is Fisk, but I think he needs more help than we're used to seeing him. Vincent D'Onofrio said that Kingpin's empire has fallen a bit because of the blip. Because of all this evidence though, I think he could have ties to a Dark Avengers team if he takes Norman's role and bought the tower as well. And of course the point of why I brought this up, he could possibly be working with Sharon. That's more of a long shot theory, but at least Sharon would be trying to help him if they were working together, and with access to the serum it's very possible Fisk had taken it himself. Wilson Fisk is supposed to be portrayed in this menacing way as a massive human like we've talked about in this video, and so even though this is an insane power up from what the Netflix show showed us, I don't think he's taking the super soldier serum. In theory, it is possible to rip a car door off like he does in the episode, depending on the build of the car, but we can just say that this peak human strength that he has gives him that ability. And if he can do that, it does make sense he can knock or punch Kate across the room like we saw as well. I mean, we've seen him throw cars and into the Spider-Verse, fall through floors and take hits from Peter Parker in the Spider-Man PS4 game, so it's clear that Marvel and everyone who uses Fisk in any media nearly portrays him as a superhuman. But he never has had a super soldier serum, an enhanced suit, or anything, just flesh and bones, and with the MCU staying pretty comic accurate so far in Phase 4, I expect Kingpin to stay the same as well, considering he even had a direct outfit from the comics in his first appearance. Other than that though, I hope you learned something today in this video. I had a ton of fun making it, and obviously at the end of the day these are all theories as well. Let me know your thoughts about this and post all your Kingpin MCU theories in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter at AnotherMarvelG and drop a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel for all MCU movies, Disney Plus show coverage, and more. And other than that, I just want to say thank you. I'm another Marvel guy, and I'll catch y'all in a blip.